you originally from?
I am from Peru.
Peru. Okay. Why'd you live there?
I live in Peru. I just kind of didn't really have a choice.
Yeah. Were your parents born there?
Yes.
Okay. So, how far away is Peru from here? Like,
In planes, like 5.5 hours.
wow. How long did you live there?
For about 5 years, on and off.
What was like your daily schedule when you lived there?
Well, since I was only like 5, I went to school, came back.
How was the school like there different than it was here? Like the times and stuff.
So times, all the schools start at 8:30, and you have schools that are from like pre-K all the way until I think it's 6th grade or 7th, and then you go into, well no, some schools automatically go into 12th grade, so roughly people graduate at 15.
Oh, wow.
But it's,
Were there like more people at the schools there or here? Or like the
well, since I went to a private school, because the public schools are kind of iffy over there, they just all had you in this one tall building. It wasn't really that tall, but it was taller than most of the houses. And everybody had their own floor. So only the little kids would stay at like first floor, then second grade, third grade, fourth, and all that stuff.
Cool. So, was there like any major differences from like what you do here on a daily basis to what you did in Peru?
Yeah, so for example, here, how we move from class to class. They actually have the teachers move from class to class, and you just stay in the same classroom all day. You have recess no matter what grade you're in. And there's uniforms. Everybody wears uniforms. And that's pretty much it. So there's a Bible class that you have to take.
Okay. So how'd you get to the U.S. and like what was the trip like?
Well, since I was 5, I don't remember much, but it was scary, obviously. We came over here, and it was like post 9/11, so it was kind of like my mom was freaked out and everything, so we kind of just like prayed like the whole flight. But that's all I remember.
What was like the most significant thing that you like remember when you came to the U.S. that was different?
I remember it being a lot more cleaner, a lot more trees, and the roads are very organized, because in Peru, like, there's lines, but people don't. Like, it'll be 3 lanes and there are 5 cars across the lane.
What's the culture shock like when coming to the U.S.?
Obviously English. I didn't know English at all, even though you take a course every year until you graduate, but it's different. It's like British English. So whenever you come here, there's nobody outside. And so you walk everywhere, unless it's like obviously far away, then you would take a bus. People don't really drive cars. You would have to be considered wealthy to drive a car. So that, and just people in their personal space, like for everybody, even though like we were walking, you're like, hey, or whatever, and somebody you know, you go up to them and you like give them a kiss, like, hey, you know. But here it's just like, so from a distance, so that's also cool.
All right. Are there any specific examples that were like the most surprising to you, or like?
The people, like the way they were, they're just different.
And then what did you have to change about your daily life here versus there?
So there, you eat breakfast, dinner, and then lunch. So lunch, it's kind of like lunch dinner, depending on what your job is. So like here, obviously you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But say you're working, you would eat dinner, and then when you come home, lunch would be like your snack. So same thing, but you would have more food during your lunchtime. No, more food during your lunchtime, and like little food during your dinner.
What is the difference between your country and living here?
Well, like I said before, it's a lot cleaner. Over there's a lot of pollution and poverty, so it's not as structured. The food, obviously, food here is kind of weird. I like my food here. But yeah, it's little things.
Any differences that you still struggle with today from Peru to here?
Not really. Like since I came here at an early age, I got accustomed to it really quick. Like I learned English in 3 months. And I was teaching my mom stuff instead of her teaching me stuff.
That's good. All right, what are customs and traditions from your country?
Custom and traditions. Well, some people, not really. We celebrate Day of the Dead. Like my grandma, whenever she feels like it, she's not like a real like believer, but she'll like set up her little table. I don't know if my mom showed you guys this year, but she set up. But that's like that first time I've ever seen her set it up. So we sometimes do that, and traditions. Well, one we can't really do here, but we eat guinea pig. That's like really good. And like we can't do it here because obviously it's a pet. But yeah, that's something that like we do. We also there's a kids' day that we celebrate where it's kind of like a second Christmas where all the kids get presents again. But we celebrate like the youth of like what's gonna be the next generation. We don't celebrate like we should. So yeah, it's just little things. It's more music and people based instead of like presidents.
All right, and then what was the most important to your family?
Most important?
Like tradition-wise?
Tradition? Well, we don't really have many traditions. We've like since like most of my family is still in Peru. The way we do Christmas has been turned out to be a tradition because so in Peru you open presents at midnight and here you would open them the next morning. So what we do is the night before is we stay up with them until midnight, watch them open their presents and they go to sleep. And then in the morning we call them and then we open our presents and it's kind of like, it's been like that back and forth.
What was like, how are the houses different in Peru versus here?
So nobody really has a house. They're kind of like mini apartments. Like for example, the people that really own houses have owned that house probably from like generations before. So, and some of the houses have like different rooms, but it's like stacked on top of each other, so people rent that out to people. The roof is used for hanging clothes. So when you're walking by, you see everybody's underwear hanging everywhere. They dry because nobody can afford a dryer or a washer. And actually, my grandma just, because she's kind of like semi-Americanized since she's been here. So they said she still hangs out her clothes, whatever. Anyways, so she would hang out her clothes, and people hand wash in the rivers and stuff. The paint is like terrible. The paint has been peeling off, I'm sure, for years, and there's a lot of graffiti everywhere. And it's usually not usually political. Sometimes it's political, but mostly it's about the soccer teams. Like if they win or lose, you'll see like more graffiti on like, for example, there's a soccer team called University. So it's like a U and then a circle, so you see that everywhere. It's kind of like the Gator and FSU kind of thing. But yeah, it's just a lot of graffiti and it's poor.
Who'd you live with in Peru versus like here?
So my mom went on a student visa, so I stayed with my grandma and my uncles. So they were like my siblings. My grandma raised me for like that time being, and then my mom came back, and then she took me like 2 years later. So then, kind of like my mom and my grandma at the same time. So.
my interview with Linda, I learned that her life was very different, but also had a lot of similarities between when she lived in Peru to where she lives now. It was different at her home life because she lived with her grandmother versus now she lives with her mother and her family. She said the schools were different because there'd be a floor for each grade level. And she said the culture and actions of the place and even just the people living there was different, you know. She said that the US is a lot more clean, it's a lot more, you know, advanced, I guess, in technology, but she also said that the people weren't as, you know, connected as they were in Peru and not as, like, there's more personal space here. She said also, though, that it was similar because she still went to school. She goes to school here and there. She still helps at home. And she still carried out a similar schedule, rather if she was in Peru or in the US. So I learned that even though she moved away at a young age, it still really did affect her moving to a whole new country. I also learned that there was a major culture shock to her whenever she switched schools, or not schools and just even lives in general. And she had to change a lot of the things that she did and a lot of the traditions and cultures, even though she was so young and even though, you know, she hadn't worked yet or anything. The life of Linda and the life of myself are similar because, like, no matter where you live in the world, you still are, like, connected to family, you still have to go to school, and you still have to help out around the house, but there's a lot of major differences that have to deal with culture and have to deal with where you grew up and what you know and everything. And so there's a lot of similarities no matter where you go in the world, but there's also major differences that only you can tell if you have lived in both places or gone to both places and lived in all their cultures. Well, I think that Linda is a very family-oriented person who, you know, really had to overcome the transition between countries, but I think that she's strong and that she's confident and that she really was able to do it. And, you know, we don't really know how hard that is, and sometimes we can, like, take for advantage the fact that we live in one country, but I think that she has really overcome the boundaries and all the obstacles that are in the way to live a life in the new country.
Okay, so we interviewed Miss Linda Echt, and what I learned from her is that she went to school in Peru and she lived with her mother and grandma and lots of her family, and when she moved here she was very surprised by the culture and what it had to deal with and, like, how the people were and how everything is situated here compared to Peru. What I take from this interview is that Linda is a very kind person who cares about her family and has no problem really going with what she knows and going new places and trying new things, and she's very open to new experiences. I learned that the people here are a lot more distant than they are in Peru, and they're not as friendly to each other. Like Linda said in Peru that the people are very friendly, not very much caring about personal space. You know, when you see each other, you'll go greet each other with a kiss, and here it's just kind of like a wave or a nod or like a smile, and then we just walk away from each other. So that's one of the things I learned, is that culture is very different from how it is here. My point of view, comparing her life journey to my life, is that it was a lot harder for her because she was moving to a new country that she has never been in, and she had to learn how to do all this stuff that the culture already knows how to do for the people who've already lived here, and that it was a lot easier for me because I've lived here all my life, but for her, she had to learn the language and learn the customs of the people and learn how to do certain things different from how she did them in Peru.